Welcome to Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. I'm Kathy, and this season is dedicated to exploring the unique world of raising boys. Parenting boys today can feel like trying to crack a complicated code, a mystery, especially when it comes to understanding their inner emotional world. Together, we'll dive into real life stories, share practical tips, and uncover insights to help you and your son thrive, not just survive. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's unlock the parenting code, one boy at a time. Welcome back to Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. I'm your host, Kathy, and today I'm welcoming Marie, I will say it right, Carrillon.
Yes, very good.
Perfect. Okay, Marie is a podcast host, an entrepreneur, and a passionate advocate for women stepping into their full power. Originally from the south of France, she moved to Sydney, Australia, thinking it would be a one-year adventure. But more than a decade later, she's built a vibrant life, a beautiful family, and a mission-driven career. Marie's the host of Lucky Last, a podcast dedicated to sharing stories of resilience, reinvention, and self worth. Marie is also the proud mom of two young children, a spirited 5-year-old boy and a curious, almost 2-year-old little girl. Today, Marie joins us to share her honest journey through motherhood, from navigating postpartum depression and finding herself again, to the joys and challenges of raising a little boy in today's world. We'll explore parenting philosophies, building strong family connections, and the wild, wonderful bond between a boy and his mom. Marie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
So, when you think about your childhood growing up in France, what values or traditions are you that you really want to focus on passing on or carrying on for your children?
Well, I think in France, we have this culture of, having dinner all together as a family, taking time to enjoy dinner together. And we're quite close between family members, and the family is really everything, pretty much everything. And yes, it happens in many other culture, but um, it's not something that I've seen so much in Australia, especially when it comes to sit down, having dinner, taking the time to discuss of the day all together, sharing, what happened today, if it's going well, if it's not going well. And this is something that I really, really insist on in my household, making sure that we have dinner all together, that we take the time to sit, eat, enjoy the moment and share, our days. So every time we sit down at the table, I'm always asking my boy, how was your day? What did you do? What did you like? What you didn't like? Tell me more. How with who did you play? Who played with you? Etc. etc. So I think this is a big one for me, making sure that we spend some quality times together as a family and keeping the discussion open for whatever it is.
What about are there any like celebrations that might be particular to France that you wouldn't see normally in Australia?
Celebration. There are little things like after, I think it's the 6th of January, we have what we call the Epiphany. So basically, we go to the bakery, we buy this special cake with almond, and then we celebrate it. It's absolutely not common at all here. But lucky for me in Sydney, there are many French bakeries, so it's easy to find this at that time of the year. So that type of thing that I still do. Christmas here is a bit different because it's summer. So in Europe, it's winter, and we sit down at the table. We have a big meal. We are like 20 starters, five, men's. Like it's really something. In Australia, definitely less, simply because it's hot, especially in Sydney. People are at the beach. They mostly do barbecues. And this is something that I'm really, really picky on. We need to have a Christmas Eve dinner. I don't care about Christmas Day, but we need to have this Christmas Eve dinner with friends, family, whoever can join to and I cook and we sit down and then we enjoy this dinner all together. Yes, it's not much about Christmas. It's probably more about spending time with people that you love and sharing food. In France, it's really to show love. It's to cook food for someone or share
Mhm.
food. And this is something that I try to reciprocate when it comes to Christmas Eve. Yes.
Beautiful. What surprised you so far the most about raising children in Australia?
Uh, I'm not going to make friends. It's really different parenting in Australia than in France. I think in France we are a bit stricter. We are definitely more strict with our kids. And we don't expect our kids to make so much noise in public places. In Australia, people are really more like, let your child be and be wild. And something that I embraced as well. I'm definitely not like my mom or some French parents. But I think there is this thing that the child is king and can do whatever they want that we don't have in France, that's for sure.
Hmm. I didn't know that, but yeah, that's interesting.
Yes,
Um,
it's yeah. French parents are definitely more strict. Like if the kids will go to the restaurant, but the kids will be very quiet. Like there is, it's different. While in Australia, people are definitely more be free, do what you have to do.
so it's funny, you mentioned someplace there's a difference between giving freedom and being strict. So I was also raised our son. Um, s- I was strict, but I was strict about manners and
Mm,
morals and
mm.
ethics and all of those big things for me. Um, how's that for you? Like, is the culture in Australia that you've witnessed, is there still an emphasis on like manners and your core values about life? Or like in Japan, I think the expectations for young children are almost non-existent. It's like while they're young, let them have all the freedom because they're going to lose that freedom as soon as they kind of step into the real world in education.
Yes, that's pretty much what it is in Australia, but it's definitely not what you see in France. In France, it's more like young children or not, they need to follow the rules, they need to be quiet, they need, despite the fact that they can be very young and just not understanding or having a concept of, sitting down at a chair where people are eating. Um, so it's definitely in Australia, it's definitely closer to Japan, while I believe that in France, we are definitely, yeah, stricter with them.
Okay. All right. So your time in Australia has been much longer than you had planned for it. So, like a decade is a long time. So, what has that taught you in particular about family and resilience and raising children away from home, away from like your family unit?
Yes, listen, it has not been always easy. It's all good and fun and sweet when you are by yourself and you're living your own life, but as soon as you get children, you are not the main picture, Like your kids taken this spot, and this is where you realize that they will miss connection with your family. They will miss birthdays. They will miss so many things that are important, but that they won't be able to have or to see or to participate with. So you need to definitely make a choice, a strong choice and live with that. And it definitely makes you more resilient simply because it hurts. It hurts to know that, your mom cannot spend time with her children, her grandchildren as much as she or I would like. It hurts to know that we're missing so many birthdays. It hurts on so many different levels. But I do believe that I'm giving a huge opportunity to my children by providing them a bilingual house, by giving them this two culture, by opening up their eyes to a bigger world. And I think that it gives them more curiosity about the world and what's happening on the other side of the world as well. In Australia, Australia is an island. We are quite isolated, and Australian people tend to mind their own business. And it's fair enough. They are on an island. Why would they care about the rest of the world? And my children will be a bit different. My children understand very early that there is another home somewhere else, that there is another world past this island, and there is so many things to see there as well. So you need to make a choice between living, like missing out on some important family stuff, but bringing this huge opportunity in terms of open mind, curiosity, and growth to your children.
Yeah, absolutely. How do you, so understanding that, having the same kind of situation myself when we were raising our son, what are some things that you do to keep that connection, like between your family and your family in France?
Yes, yes. Lucky, I'm very lucky. We are living in 2025, so it's much easier now to connect with others at the other side of the world. So I make sure that once or twice a week I will have a WhatsApp video call with my mom where she can talk to my children. She can, share whatever she's doing. The kids like to show her what they are doing at the moment. My daughter was trying to play hide and seek with her on the phone. So there is little things like that that we try to maintain to make sure that one, they know her voice, two, they know her face, three, they can have a interaction with her, even if it's not like a touching interaction, they can still exchange on different topics, on plays, on toys, or like there is something happening to make sure that when we go there or if she comes, they don't have to deal with a stranger. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really lovely time to be, in that kind of a situation now compared to,
Yes.
even, 10, 20 years ago.
Yes.
How often do you get back to France?
Every 2 years. Every 2 years, I go spend summer there for a couple of months. Yes.
So then my next question is because you said one of the advantages of the situation you're in is that your children are living in a bilingual home.
Yes.
So how are you keeping the French alive?
That's a good question. It's a tricky thing. Don't get me wrong. It's not easy to keep the French alive, especially because my husband is Australian. So the main language at home, the main language spoken at home is English. And after almost 11 years in Australia, what comes first in my mind is English. So it's always challenging to speak French to my son, and it's terrible to say that. I'm quite ashamed of saying it, but that's the truth. After 10 years here, French is definitely not my first language anymore. So I'm lucky enough to live in Sydney and to live in the part of Sydney close to the International French School. And this school provide classes, 'cause it's a proper school, since the kids are 3 years old until they are 18. So my son started at the French school last year and is currently at the French school and will keep going until for a few years. We will see what the future reserves us, but it will still keep going. So this helps a lot simply because he's speaking French 70% of the time at
Yeah.
school and is learning to read and to write in French as well as in English. So this has been a huge improvement in our lives when it comes to speaking French. For my daughter, who is going to an Australian childcare, it's another story. It's not that easy. So I'm trying to force myself to speak French to her. We have a lot of books in French. So my mom sent me a lot of French books. Wherever I can, I buy French books. And I think this helps a lot with my daughter. So she knows a few words in French. But yeah, I think the books is a huge help.
Yeah, it was so our son, it a little bit different because my husband spoke only in Japanese to him. I spoke only in English to him, and his environment was Japanese. So I would say his first language was definitely Japanese. But even when he was as young as 2 years old, like we would be at the dinner table and we'd be talking, and he would, I was amazed with it because I didn't understand it before, but I would say something to him in English, and he would respond in Japanese. And his dad would say something in Japanese, and he would say it back in Japanese. That little boy understood every single word I said. And the only thing I could put it down to was that I wasn't hung up on language because I knew he was going to go to an international school. So I knew his English would not be an issue, and so I could talk from my heart. And that was my goal. That was the drive. But when he was young, even though I was getting no, I had no validation that anything I was doing made sense. I made sure, same thing, like he had so many beautiful books in English. He had, the little videos, song videos and all that. His environment at home was an English environment. And I think that had a really big impact on
Yeah,
him. So,
it definitely helped. I had the same situation with Noah, my son, like when I'm speaking French to him, and then he will respond in English, or like it's just funny how they manage these two languages. And when we were in the car when he was younger, like for example, we will see a truck, and he will say to me, he will say, "Mommy, camion, camion," and then he will say, "Dad, truck." So he will know which language to speak to whoever was, and it was, yeah, just fantastic to see how their brain are like functioning, and how they actually understand very quickly and early who speak who what, and which language I need to speak or respond to depending to
yeah.
who's is talking to me.
Yeah, they're so smart when
They
they're
are.
young. Okay, one of the things that I loved you talking about when we spoke the first time was you talked about this special bond between you and your son. And I had said, and I strongly believe, our little boys are meant for their moms. Like there is something about that bond that is just, it's the most beautiful thing I've seen. Tell me a little bit more about that and how you keep that strong as he's growing up.
Yes, well, I'm the default parent, so I'm doing pretty much everything when it comes to my son as well. So it helps a lot. He had a phase where he was more into his dad, but I think that, yeah, whatever happened, he will always be me. It's just beautiful because like there is a really strong connection between my son and I, and he will talk a lot to me as well, when he doesn't talk that much to his dad, which is really surprising. But it like, yeah, there is something that we can't break. I do believe, I hope it will not happen. And I do the nighttime, and I make sure that I put him to bed. I read him a story, I sing him a song, and there is this like beautiful, moment when he's about to sleep, where he can, just feel relax and at peace after this day. And then this is where he's going to start telling me everything about his day. But I feel like I'm a bit his confident, his best friend, is like I'm a bit of everything with my son. And so much that I absolutely wanted another boy when I got pregnant, because I wanted to keep this like mama's boy. And I had a girl, of course.
Mhm.
And it's completely different, but I'm very happy to add a girl. But I think boy feel probably safer with their mom. I don't know, it's very strange. My daughter is a lot into her dad, And like I'm still like doing really a lot for her, but she like her dad is her everything. Um, and I don't know, there is something that for the boys, we are their everything, you know? Like, yes, their dad is probably their role model, but I might question that to a certain limit because I do believe that my son is a lot like me.
Yeah, there's a few things in what you said there. One of them is the stage that they go through, and it's usually around the twos and threes where they seem to really kind of understand, oh, I'm the same gender as my dad. And that's when you'll see a lot of little boys will, start shaving with their plastic sh they want to, connect with that identity. And it is a stage that they go through. But the other thing was about the connection that
Mm.
you hope that that never changes. And I think that's one of the things that is the saddest thing is once our little boys start going out more into society. So it usually starts like when they go into kindergarten, lower elementary, where they're starting to get the message that it's not cool to be so connected to mom. It's not cool to be a mama's boy. And there's a lot of moms that will start to pull back because they feel that's what they need to do in order to make life for their boys better. But what that does is severs that connection that really should be a connection that goes on forever. So I think if moms are aware, they don't have to break that connection. Like it's, even though they might get that message, or their son might be getting that message, like it's something, awareness will kind of make a big difference.
Yes,
So since you have one of each gender, so
yes.
what have you come to find? Like, what are the difference in your expectations? What your awareness about the differences in gender? Any of that stuff?
Yeah, I think I don't know, I can say that. I think boys are actually very sensitive, or maybe it's a second child. I'm not sure, that's are different. But I do believe that boys are actually probably more sensitive that we can think. And so this is the first thing I noticed that my boy is definitely sensitive and probably need more. How can I say? Listening ears, support, opening talk, just to make sure that he can process everything happening at school. Um, and I think again, I do believe that they are more, how can I say, there is no boy, what you see from a boy, this is what you get. There is nothing behind
Very
it.
pure, very
Exactly.
pure.
There is absolutely nothing else. Like whatever you see, this is whatever you will get. Why girl, even if she's still young, I do believe there is this like play, like I'm going to act or play that way to get this. Why no one ever did that, you know? Noah was like crying because he was sensitive and crying. I don't think he was just trying to get something out of it. So I think this is probably the difference. Noah, I will know in a second, you know, what's happening. Maya will have to play this game before to realize is what she wants.
How about like one of the things, like I don't have the experience with a girl, but I was concerned if I, was going to have a girl because I thought, you know, like when you talk about boundaries and things, like I really worried about how am I going to make sure that I don't keep seeing myself in her so that
Mm,
I'm trying to, you know, prevent her from having the same heartaches or like making assumptions that she's doing this for the same reasons that I did that. And then parenting along those lines, like trying to make sure she doesn't follow any path that might cause her pain that I've already gone through. Whereas when it was a little boy, it was like it was really excitement. It's kind of like, okay, this is new. It's going to be great. I'm not putting my history or my
mm,
baggage on
Mhm.
him. What was that like? What was it like for you? Because you got both of them.
Yeah, well, I don't think actually, to be honest, in complete honesty, I probably feel like that put more of my baggage into my son because he was the first one than my daughter. So
Hmm.
I'm a different mother now that I was with my son, and I probably put a lot of anxiety as well on my son because I was very really anxious at that time, and I know sometimes when I see you react to some stress it's a mirror. It's literally mirroring me a couple of years ago. And now I'm trying to undo that. We will take some time, but I do believe that I probably share more anxiety and like heavy baggage to my son while raising him than I did with my daughter. So yeah,
Well,
I
that's
do believe the first one as well. So unfortunately, you had to cope with issue that I have that I could not heal at that time. But I'm a definitely more relaxed and chill mother with my daughter than I was with my son.
that's a really good point to remember. I wasn't thinking about that, like the birth order kind of thing. But yes, that makes perfect sense too. So since you've started in this topic, I wonder if you can talk a little bit about how that was for you, the postpartum depression.
Yes. It was hard. It was not fun. The problem is like people are you spend nine months thinking the 9.5 months thinking that you are ready, you are going to have this baby. You have absolutely no idea what's coming for you. You have absolutely no idea. In our entourage, um, I was, except one family, I was actually the first one to have a kid. So it's not like we could see as well much. We had a family, close family as well, but the kid was already older, so it was a bit different. So I didn't know what to expect. I thought, of course, I knew a baby will be crying, etc., etc., but I was absolutely not prepared mentally for what was coming for me, and I hit a wall. It was like sleep deprived. I had this baby with who I didn't bond with initially, and everyone was like, "It's love at the first sight." To your baby, blah blah blah. Like it's actually not true. Not everyone is bonding with their baby when they are born.
How old were
Um,
you?
I was 32, so I was not that
Okay.
young. I was
Yeah.
32. We had as well kind of a traumatic experience at birth because Noah was not breathing and they took him away for house and we could not have absolutely no knowledge of how my son was and what was happening. My husband didn't do his whooping cough vaccine, so could not go to the NCIU to check on him. So we were in the room, left there for house before being able to know what was happening. And I gave birth at 8, and I only being able to go there to see my son at 1. He was under oxygen, was not breathing, so he spent a few days there. But I think this probably didn't help with the bonding. Um, anyway, it ended well. Everything was fine. 2 days later, I went back to my room, and I finished like I had like 2 more days. So he stayed with me for 2 more days. But when you come home, there is no notice. There is no explanation on how you are going to take care of your child now, and this was was an issue. I was not sleeping because no, I was not sleeping. I was breastfeeding, but I didn't know if he had enough milk. I had absolutely no understanding of what I was doing. I was just trying to survive and make sure that I was not going to kill him, literally. It's just what you're trying to do. And then days goes and I was crying every single day. Every single day I was crying and crying and regretting all of this. I was like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I think about? Why? I could not. I was like really upset with myself. I thought that it was a terrible idea, and no, there is no, we can't give him back.
Yes.
So you need to deal with that. And yeah, it was. it was a terrible situation. I didn't cope well. It was really sad. It was really sad. I I had the first relief came week two when I had this meeting. We had this meeting with mums group.
Yep.
So with the hospital, you are part of a mums group. And then I went to this meeting. We were like 15 mum, I think. And we were all sitting down, in a circle, and everyone was sharing their story. And at the end, I left, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not alone. It's not me. I'm not the only one, I'm not the only one going through that. And this helped to know that actually I didn't do anything wrong. My son is not sleeping because he's a newborn. It's not my fault. And it helped me a bit. But it took me 6 weeks to go over it. I didn't put a name on postpartum depression. I didn't want at that time, I don't think I was as well open-minded as I am now to say something is wrong with me. So I kept that for myself. My husband was coming home every night. I was like crying every single day. Like it's like I was I could not. So it was quite challenging. And when you are breastfeeding, you are the only one. Like you can give the baby for 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, that's good. You can have a shower, but it stopped there. And and I realized that breastfeeding for me was not working. So at the 6 weeks mark, I decided against all advice to stop breastfeeding, of course, gradually. And by 3 months old, I was not breastfeeding again, and it changed my life. Like I've been able to go out without stressing about breastfeeding in public and everything, because I know it's an open society and it's all fine, but you need to find a comfortable position. You need to make sure that you didn't forget the thing to protect it. You need to make sure that people are not looking around you. Like there's so much pressure on breastfeeding mom, I do believe. And I think that we should not give them this look. We should not like make it so complicated for them. Um, and I feel, yeah, I just feel out of place. I just feel out of place. I just feel like um, I could not cope well with this new world. And it wasn't me. But I'm talking about everything. Like I remember day 4 or 5, I was walking with the pram in the street, and it seems so unreal for me. I was very, very busy. I was working in a very fast-paced environment. I always been like running from one side to another, always like helping others. And suddenly I'm all by myself and I can't do nothing. I just need to sit down on the couch, breastfeed the baby, and that's it. It's all what I have to do. And for everyone can be, oh, that's amazing. That's great. For me, it was a really challenge to realize that actually, I can't take my baby in my fast-paced environment. I can't breastfeed wherever I want and do whatever I want to do. And it took me some time to realize that the life that I had before was gone. And I think this is what, as well, my postpartum depression was about, realizing that the previous Marie will never be here again, or not now, at least. And yeah, yes, yeah.
I think a lot of women, that last statement, there's a lot of young women today, more so than before, I think, perhaps because the role of the woman has changed so much in, the last, say, 40 years. But I wanted to ask you, because one of the things that I noticed for me, like when I think back of when my sisters had their children, they were within 15 miles of my mom and dad.
Mm,
And they were in, within a radius, the same radius of where they had grown up. So they had this pretty good support system
yeah.
of friends, other women that are going through the same thing, but also of grandparents that were thrilled to give the people, my sisters a break anytime they wanted to. Whereas I was in a new country, I did not have that family support. the assumption was you know what you're doing. And although I didn't deal with the things you dealt with, I remember really, really clearly the first time that I was home by myself trying to give this infant a bath. And
Mm.
I couldn't. He kept sliding and slipping. And I remember calling my friend and just sobbing and saying, I don't know how to do this. And I was lucky that, I had her and she had had three kids and she kind of talked me through the panic so I didn't go down a dark hole with it. But at the same point, being in an environment where you're not surrounded by like your village, it is really hard. And just all of the new stuff. And then you add on the hormonal changes
Yes.
after giving birth, and it's really hard. Here in Japan, I don't know how, enforced it is or practiced currently, but I remember when I first came here, a good friend that I had become friends with, when she was going to give birth to her first child, her parents lived in in the country, so maybe 2 hours away. And just before she gave birth, like a few weeks before, she moved back to her
Mm.
family home. And she stayed there for a month after the baby was born. Her husband would come on the weekends and visit and everything. But for that first month, it's from my understanding, that was the time for the new mom to get back both her physical and her mental stability so that, like when you look at the way it is for other people, like you said, just the sleep deprivation. Like it is, it's a lot. Mothers are dealt quite a hand, and I don't think you can be prepared. I don't think anyone can tell you what that's going to be about. But
No. I think not having the support and the family had a huge impact, that's for sure. It's a very isolated time. And if you don't have this village, this strong, like family support or friends support, it's going to be very challenging. My friends had absolutely no idea whatever of what's happening. They didn't have kids. They were still like in another phase in their life. So I really could not talk to any of them about it because they could not get it. And I didn't have any family as well. And it's funny because I remember a very good friend of mine. She has now two kids, and she had them, of course, after mine. And after she had the first one, she came to tell me, she said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry because I didn't know. I had no idea what you were going through. I didn't check on you. I didn't like supported you. And now I understand. And I'm like so sorry. And it like really, it made me very, very, very happy and emotional because yes, but what can you say? You can't tell them if they haven't been through that. You
yeah,
can
yeah,
try, they won't get it. You
no.
need to go through that to get it. And as you said, you will never be prepared because everyone can tell you whatever the worst story, you're still not prepared. So yeah,
Well, and
it,
you've said something about you feel or have felt that women have more of a tendency perhaps to judge each other, which I
yes,
also feel the same thing. So not only are you completely on your own, you feel like everyone is looking at you and saying, oh, she shouldn't look that tired. She shouldn't be, crying while she's walking the
yes,
child in the stroller. And so
exactly.
what about that? Like when talking about women judging each other.
Yeah.
So you have a podcast now. I don't know what else is going on in your world, but what do you do to try to, promote the idea that there's no need to be judging, there's no need for comparisons. Everybody, women, men, just everybody is
Mm.
different, and we don't need to be in that place of judgment. How
I
do you
think we
handle
need,
it?
yeah, I think we definitely need to be more kind and gentle with each other. We don't, We assume so quickly. We assume so quickly. We are going to look at someone and we are going to already, assume this and that and that. But the fact is, like everyone is running, sorry, my French, excuse my French, a fucking battle in the back end, that we don't see. Everyone is struggling with something really challenging at that time because this is life. This is what's happening. We are all going through things. And I think we need to realize that we are in this shit all together. We are in the same boat. What comparison will bring you? It will make you feel better for a second because you think that you are better, but actually you're not. You're not by using that, by doing that, you are just trying to protect yourself because you feel inferior. And you just need to realize that we are all the same. Like we are the same. And I think the South society for many years put women against women. I think it's not coming from nowhere. There is like this thing that you need to compare to her. She's you and me. Like I don't know why we put that in our minds, but unfortunately it's there, always been there. Social media is a disaster as well when it comes to that, and it's not helping at all. But I feel that there is some improvement here. I'm doing a lot of networking and I'm a lot into self-development and I realize that women who want to succeed, women who are taking care of themselves, are realizing that this is not the way to go, compare each other. This is not. The way to go is to support each other, to be kind, to be gentle, and to promote one with each other. Like there is no other option if you want to make it, if you want to be happy, if you want to feel seen and alive and appreciated, and if you want to be feel happy within yourself. This is the only way. By judging others, by criticizing others, you will never feel this peace, this inner peace.
It's funny that I just the way I am, I guess, where I felt most judged or had experiences where I felt the most judged, but also felt the strongest was with parenting.
Mm,
When I felt
mm,
attacked or criticized because of choices I made about how I wanted to raise our son,
yeah,
I could feel really strong about it and I didn't take it quite so personally. Whereas other things, if I was judged for, how I look or how I talk or that kind of stuff, that would kind of hit my ego and, make
yeah,
me feel less than. But it was when I felt judged as a parent that hit a chord that was deeper than I had any idea I could be hurt.
yeah, yeah.
So,
It's yeah.
please go
It's
ahead.
yeah. It's because you are just trying to do your best every day. Being a parent is so challenging, and when people come at you telling you that you're not doing a good job, it's just there is nothing worse than that.
Yeah.
I You know what's annoying me as well is like, especially mothers that have been mothers 15 years ago or 20 years ago from another generation who've been through that, but through another generation, we will tell you what to do. And this is something that is driving me absolutely insane because one, you are a mother, you know what I'm going through. Two, this is not the same generation. The
Mm.
issue, the problems, the environment that you had 15 years ago are not the one that we have today. Like the
It's
kids.
almost the same. Sorry, it's almost the same as what you said, as far as it wasn't the same raising the first child with the second child.
Mm, mm,
So,
yeah.
because you're different. So, it's the same raising a
Yes.
child, in another generation and completely different.
It's completely different because yeah, the environment is completely different, and our goal is to protect them, to make sure that they grow, healthy, that they become good adults and lovely and kind adults. And what was happening 10, 15 years ago, even 5 years ago, it's not what's happening today. So we need to adapt. And this is as well the challenge with parents. We need to constantly adapt when they are newborn, we have this challenge. about like surviving sleep deprivation, crying, self-doubting, making sure they are okay, that we are not going to kill them. When they're 5 years old, we have another challenge coming up, making sure that they have a quite good understanding of the good and the bad, but they still thrive as a human being. When they are 10, we have another challenge. So we keep constantly, we need to stay on our toes and adapt ourselves to our parenting, to the environment and the dynamic, the outdoor dynamic. It's so challenging. Mothers should be supporting each other. We go through the trenches. We go through war.
One of the things that's really helped me is, as far as the metaphor go, and I often share it because I think it to me it's what really makes sense. But when you're parenting, it's kind of like you start out learning a dance with your child. And it often feels like as soon as you get in step and you're kind of, moving to the same music, then they change. They move into a new stage. So then you have to, get back in tune with whatever that dance is so that you're dancing it together. And that just never stops. But sometimes we have the idea that, okay, if you read enough books, you listen to enough podcasts, you talk to another, a mom's group, that you'll have it figured out and you might have it figured out then. But the next time that they go into a new stage, you have to readjust everything.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things I'm trying to be mindful of time, but I've still got more questions. And so now your little boy has started school. Was this his first year, like from January?
No, last year. Last year is
Okay.
yes, second year.
So you have it a little bit different because he's in a French school. So it's kind of like that was the same for us at some point, like once he was in the international school. So that's a little bit different culturally. But I have found it to be rather consistent that those, especially the lower elementary years, are really challenging because a traditional educational system makes demands on little boys that they're not developmentally able to be successful at. So that starts a whole, bucket of things that can change if you're not aware. And I remember clearly when our little guy was about 8, so grade 2, and I had been watching, the changes happening in him. And so I started researching alternatives. I didn't know what are my choices because he's not thriving. And that particular year was the worst. We had friends in Australia, but I ended up going to Australia on a spring break to look at one of their boys' schools, one of the best boys' school actually in Australia, and I was in awe and that was 25 years ago almost now. But the understanding of, the differences in learning, in communication, in socializing, like the pamphlet that they would give parents of interested parents coming to the school on the back, they had important books to read when you're considering this alternative. And it was like I kept ticking, oh, I read that, I read that, I read that. It was
Mm,
like they were on the same wavelength.
mm.
And I found it really exciting at the time. So your little boy is just beginning that phase. And I wonder if, like, have you noticed anything that, it doesn't have to be like a red flag, but just, it's kind of like, oh, that didn't feel right for my boy.
Um, Not really. I didn't. Like, I think we are very lucky because the school is really, really good, excellent, and like I can only recommend it. But what was challenging for Noah when he started school, he was almost 4, and we had some issues the first year because, of course, he was leaving childcare, going to school where he had to sit down, where he had to listen all day, where he had to follow a clear agenda every day. And he didn't sit very right with him. And we had some issue for the first 6 to 8 months, to be honest. Um, Simply because Noah didn't want to sit more than 5 minutes to listen to someone talking or whatever it was. Noah didn't want to do activities. Noah just wanted to run and play.
Yeah.
And this is as well why I decided to put him in the second year, not the first year, not at 3. Simply because I do believe that they are too young to go to school, but this is a French curriculum. Um, so yes, we had some challenge there where Noah had to learn how to sit down quietly, listening without talking, learning how to sit down in a classroom. And you can say whatever you want, but I think a boy is not a girl, and a boy will always have more challenge doing this than a girl. And I do believe that sometimes the schools and the education given to the children doesn't take into consideration the fact that boys will need to run. We need to, get like you need to be active way more quicker than a girl.
Mhm. What are your biggest worries about this stage for him?
I thought that he had ADHD. I've been like I had a few meetings with the teacher because the teacher was worried about his attention deficit. So I was really worried about that. And I know he was only 4, and everyone was telling me he's 4, Marie, he's just a boy. But I had to get him checked. Even if we cannot like technically we can't check ADHD
Diagnose?
before they are 7, I think.
Yeah.
But I went to do like a full check to see how he was, using his pen, how he was like putting things in, like, a full report on it, and the report was absolutely fine. But I got worried about that. I got worried that maybe he needs more attention than he should. But again, I think, and I was very upset with myself because I think um, I've been pushed to make me think that way when I think that we should think the other way. A 4 years old boy should not be sitting all day long, 5 days a week, listening or doing activities, just sitting on his chair. This is what I think. I think that we should give them more freedom to run and exercise and, like reset than sitting all day long.
Well, there's enough research to back that up. And I think
Yeah,
almost any mom would tell you that, that would be their instinct, that would be their gut feeling, but they feel they have to help their son adapt so that he can fit in. Whereas truly, perhaps the system should be changed enough so that a child doesn't need to change the natural way they learn and live in order to be successful in the environment. Yeah.
absolutely. Agree.
So, what would you say to other moms of boys who might be struggling with things like that? Like, you have to be at quite a not dark, but concerned point to have your child assessed.
Yes,
And and I would guess that some of that fear and anxiety that drove you to have him assessed came from the places where he was spending his days, not from how you saw him at home. Would that be right?
absolutely.
Hmm.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I think you need to trust yourself, like trust your gut. Don't, you know your son better than anyone else. And people will might try to tell you that it's not the case, it's the truth. Like you got this baby out of your womb. So you know this kid better than anyone can know him. So I would say just trust your gut. You can do it just to have like a peace of mind, but trust your gut and just be gentle with your son, because he's struggling a lot. So it's not easy for him. He's not doing that because, he just wants to play. It's just because he cannot. It just cannot. And be gentle with him and give him a lot of space and support him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Marie, before we wrap up, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had?
No, no. I will just say one thing. When you have a baby, get your village.
Yeah,
Get your village. Yeah, make sure that you have, even if it's just one person or two-person, just get your village. And make sure you can talk to someone and you will get better.
yeah, yeah, good advice. Okay, I usually finish off with my guest with two questions that are just for fun. So the first
Okay.
one is, if your family life was a movie, what would the title be and what would be a short synopsis?
Embrace the chaos.
Hmm. And the summary or synopsis?
Um, it's fun. I probably will be embrace the chaos. Life is actually more fun when you embrace all the messy part that go with it. Something like
Hmm.
that.
And the last one, imagine the day that Noah is having his first child. What words of wisdom would you give to him?
Be gentle with your wife, support her, support your family, be present, and be proud, enjoy. It's the better years of your life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Marie, where can listeners connect with you and follow your work?
Yes, they can follow me on Instagram. My podcast is called Lucky Last Podcast, and on Spotify and Apple Podcasts too.
Okay, I will make sure that I put all that in the show notes. So, Marie, thank you very much for coming in today. I know how precious a parent's time is, and I hope that you feel that I've honored your time today. I'm sure that a lot of women will be able to take some tidbits from this that will just help them, will motivate them, will encourage them in their role as being a mother. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Catherine. Have a good day.
You too. To our
Bye.
listeners, thank you for joining us on Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. Be sure to subscribe, share, and tune in next week for more conversations about raising boys with intention, heart, and connection. If you're a parent raising a boy in today's complex world, be sure to explore sonhoodcoaching.com. You'll discover expert guidance and support designed to help you unlock your full parenting potential. As Amelia Gambetti says, this job is too difficult and too beautiful to do alone. Together we can explore this adventure and discover the magic of raising boys.